Hello friends, today we'll be studying unit number 5, life skills, spoken English skills and body language. Let's first start with an introduction to ourselves. What is the meaning of self-introduction? Self-introduction means when we tell people about ourselves, about our hobbies, about our interests, about the skills that we have. And self-introduction is telling about yourself to an academic reader, a person of interest, an audience or a reader. It is a formal presentation of one person to another. Let's define self-introduction first. The act of introducing or the state of being introduced is self-introduction. Self-introduction is essential in the business, in academic part and in the social world. If we can give an impressive self-introduction, it helps us effectively in our personal and professional life. How to master the art of self-introduction? First, let us try to learn how to introduce ourselves to a general public or to a listener. First, keep the below points in mind. Give a good self-introduction of yourself, meaning you should be able to convey to another person what you are actually trying to say or how you would like to be perceived in the other person's eyes. You should be confident. There is nothing to be afraid of. In today's world, everyone is afraid of something. If we have a weakness, it is more opportune to tell about the weakness rather than hide and be complex about it. We should be able to greet the other person in a friendly manner. Greeting always comes as a most essential part of opening a conversation. If we are not able to take a greeting to a person, it positively or negatively affects the way we are perceived in the other's eyes. Remember that the line between the confidence and overconfidence is very thin. So we should try not to overdo it or not to underdo it when we are trying to present ourselves to a general public. Introducing yourself. Let's try to look at the definition of self-introduction. It is the act of introducing or the state of being introduced. Self-introduction is essential because it is useful to us in today's world. You should be able to present yourself as a modest and intellectual person. Do not try to bluff over information that you do not know. Be very careful to reveal only those parts of your personality that you think the other person will find interesting. Practice and try to start a conversation. Learn to break the ice. Breaking the ice refers to initiating a conversation. It conveys a positive step that you are keenly interested in introducing yourself and getting introduced to someone else. Most importantly, most of us have a habit of speaking unclearly, like murmuring or speaking very fast or speaking very slow. We should be in a flow, we should be in a general flow, going really slow and steady and conveying our ideas very clearly. Let's take a specimen example. For example, my name is Priyanka Patel. I come from Mehsana. There are 4 members in my family, including myself, my younger brother, my mother, and my father. Let's try to keep it very simple instead of taking something very complex in the hand. I'm pursuing my BBA. I'm in the first year, semester 1. My ambition is to become an engineering graduate or a management graduate or a lecturer, whatever may be your passion for becoming a career-oriented person. Greeting. Another important part, as I referred earlier, is greeting a person. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. But we should be careful to have a look at the specific time of the day where the appropriate greeting should be conveyed to the person. For example, if we say good morning, we should be very clear that the time for morning is before 12 p.m. in the afternoon. If we are saying good afternoon, we should be very clear that the time pertaining to this period is between 12 and 6 p.m. in the evening. After 6 p.m., any time till 12 a.m. in the midnight, you can say good evening, sir. You do not need to be going ahead in detail. My hobby is to listen to old Hindi film songs. My strengths. Conveying strengths, you should be able to convey the qualities that you need to highlight. The qualities that you have as a person which can help you make your personality a bit better. My ambition is to do an MBA and do a career in marketing. Let's move to the next topic, body language. First of all, let us try to understand the fundamental of body language. Body language is a form of mental and physical ability of human non-verbal communication consisting of body postures like standing straight, standing crooked, or standing maybe a little more bent than necessary. Gestures. Gestures are like waving out to someone, calling someone, or making a quick sound. Facial expressions may be like a smile or a frown or an inquiring gesture. And eye movements like concentrating on a subject or looking down, looking sideways here and there are signs of nervousness. Body language is significant to communication and relationships. If you are not able to convey a body language properly, it may lead to a negative gesture or a confusion in the mind of the person who is perceiving you. Physical expressions like waving, pointing, touching, and facial expressions all form important parts of body language. The study of body movement and expression in technical communication is called kinesics. Body language is a part of non-verbal language. Let's look at the features of body language. It includes posture, as I told, how you stand or how your body movement is. Head motion, how you are able to put your head in a straight or in an inclined manner. Facial expression, whether you are able to display a happy smile or a frown or an anger, frustration. Eye contact, movement of the eyes from left to right, right to left, looking upwards, sidewards are signs that you are not interested in a conversation. Gestures are another important part wherein you make physical movements to convey non-verbal messages. Let's look at knowing some correct body language postures. First, rubbing both the palms together. This expression is a typical expression wherein you try to communicate that you are positively interested in having a conversation with a person. Hands clenched together. This is a negative sign. Maybe putting your hands and fists together, or conveying in this manner, or standing with clenched fists can lead to a sign of frustration or negativity in the mind of the listener. Raised and lowered steeple. Here steeple refers to the joining of two hands in such a manner which convey an impression of being listened to or being talked to. The raised steeple is generally used when a person is trying to convey his ideas and saying instead of listening, while the lowered steeple refers when the person is more interested in listening rather than speaking. Another gesture is when we observe people putting both the hands joined together. First one, as you can see, is the superiority gesture. This gesture conveys that a person has immense confidence in himself and has a degree of superiority and bossism over the others. The second one is the hand gripping wrist gesture, wherein a person is trying to control his emotions forcibly rather than trying to convey his emotions in a straightforward manner. The third one, or the most frustrated signs of a person, is the upper arm grip. This grip conveys that a person is about to break his patience and most probably is likely to be in a negative frame of mind and extremely frustrated over something. Thumb display. Many of us have a habit of putting our hands in the pockets. Friends, let's just avoid this, because putting a sign like putting your hand in a pocket or putting your thumbs in the pocket is a sign of a negative body language wherein you are not in a frame of mind to actually convey or listen to someone and you are own preoccupied with your thoughts. This is a typical American leg gesture. This gesture conveys that you are in a competitive position or in a competitive frame of mind. This kind of the leg posture is generally seen in the American people. Whenever you see people in an interview sitting with crossed legs reading a newspaper or a magazine or reading their own resumes, it is a sign that the person is very much competitive in nature and willing to go ahead with a fiery attitude. Defensive signs. Many of us, while delivering ourselves or delivering our body language, would like to keep our arms crossed like this or keep your legs crossed, friends, this is a sign of negative body language. It indicates that you are not in a mood to accept the other person's views, or you strongly disagree with the other person. Shaking the hands. This forms the most important part of the conversation, where you convey yourself and try to take the control of the conversation in your hand. This generally precedes the start of any conversation, or it can be at the end of any conversation when you shake a friendly hand with the other person. This gesture, a warm gesture, suggests you are trying to take the control. This gesture, where the thumb is left outside, is a sign of giving control to the others. A firm handshake moving upwards and downwards is a sign that you are in a friendly frame of mind. And the glove handshake, wherein both the hands are clenched on the hands of the person. This is a sign of cooperation and your readiness to cooperate with any gesture that the other person is likely to do. But again, we should remember that at any point of time we should not overdo things, otherwise it can be taken in a negative manner. Another style, as we talked about, is crossing your hands and legs both. This is a defensive standing position wherein you are not ready to accept, and also in a defensive gesture it leads to the other person to be in a confused manner whether his views have been accepted or not accepted by the listener. Instead, we should focus on the open body gesture, where a person has both his hands and legs open, which conveys a very positive frame of mind, a good level of confidence and a readiness to be accepted. But there are flaws in body language as well. Everything that has a rose has its own thorns. Let's try to look at some common flaws. For example, let's start with this first picture. What do you think? Yes, that's correct. We see many people while talking who have a habit of seeing in the watch or looking here at the clock. It means they have started losing patience and they are losing their interest in the conversation or finding the other person's conversation very boring. This is the steeple sign. Normally, it is considered a very positive sign and conveys the level of interest. A raised steeple can mean you want to speak more. A lowered steeple can mean you want to listen more. But the steeple should not be with clenched fists, which conveys defensive gesture or aggressivism or nervousness on your side. Hands in the back, as we said earlier, can have various signs from lower levels of frustrations, superiority, to a high level of frustration. Picking lint of your clothes. While speaking, we sometimes observe that some people have a habit of cleaning their clothes or cleaning off lint out of their clothes. This is a negative gesture. When you concentrate on your own clothes, the other person clearly gets the message that you are much preoccupied with your own thoughts or your own views, rather than giving the other person a chance to convey his views effectively. Touching your face during a conversation. Many people have bad habits or flaws while reading or while doing something. They have a habit of touching their face in the cheeks or in the nose or at the back of their hand. This leaves a negative impression because, friends, touching the face during a conversation is a sign of deceit, a sign of cheating. It conveys the impression of a person who is trying to think over an act or not complete his commitment. Looking down while in the presence of others. This is a sign of frustration or negativity or a very, very bored frame of mind or nervous frame of mind. Whenever you are looking at people, as we seen earlier, we should have a good eye contact. Instead, if your eyes are down, it is a clear sign that the receptivity from the other person to you is not coming. It also conveys arrogance, and it also means that you are not interested. Foot or finger tapping. Many times we see when we are talking with our friends, they have a sign of boredom wherein they try to convey by tapping their foot or tapping the finger of their foot or making sounds like this. This means the person is steadily losing patience. The person is steadily becoming bored from your conversation, and it is a sign that the person who is speaking should stop. Fidgeting with small objects. While going through body language, there is a very interesting portion where people convey their body language through objects. For example, some people have rings worn in their hands. They have a habit of looking at their rings again and again, or looking at their watch, or they want other persons, like making a paper ball or playing with their keys. These are signs that the conversation that you are trying to do is very casual. The other person is taking your conversation very casually. Avoid hands in your pocket. As we saw earlier, putting hands in the pocket completely is a sign of nervousness. Putting your thumbs outside the pocket is a sign of dominance or overconfidence. One very common another gesture is avoiding nail biting and fidgeting. Many people, when they are afraid or over nervous, they have a habit of chewing their nails, or putting their hands in the pockets, or putting their hands at the back. This is the sign of a frustrated person or a very scared person who is not in a mood to accept any receptivity with positiveness. Crossing arms, legs and feet. As we saw in the earlier diagrams, crossing arms or legs is a sign of a defensive posture wherein you are not ready to accept the other person's views, and you are not ready to convey your own thoughts to the person either. Avoid crossing legs. As we shared earlier, this is a good position. This is an American position conveying positivity and also competitivity, but crossing your legs all the times can lead to a bore gesture being conveyed to the perceiver. Avoiding crossing the arms and legs, as we saw earlier, is a gesture of defensive attitude. Looking down while walking. Many people on the streets are seen walking with their hands in the pockets and their heads down, and walking in a manner which is very, very depressing. Such persons are most likely to be in a depressed frame of mind, angry or frustrated over something. It is not wise to talk to a person in this kind of a frame of mind. Clasping hands or squeezing hands. Some people have a habit of clasping their hands or breaking their fingers like this. This can even be a nervousness or a fear sign of the person being either very afraid of you or being very nervous by what you are trying to convey. This is clenching your arms. So, what we saw were the flaws of body language. So, what will be the correct way in which we can convey our body language? First, in a positive body language, always have your hands in an open manner, something like this, or straight next to your legs. Second, leaning forward slightly. While doing this, you need not be overleaned or overleaned backwards, but you need to stand in an attentive posture so that the person comes to know that you are keenly listening to what he is trying to say. Third, make eye contact. Along with leaning, you have to be careful that you make a good amount of eye contact with the person. Having your eyes move right, left, or upwards, downwards, sidewards can be a sign that you are not interested in the conversation. Instead, lean a little and keep your eyes in the other person's eyes without making them very large or very small. Sitting or standing upright with relaxed shoulders. Sometimes we can see tension or anxiety in the body language of people wherein their shoulders are either very tight or very loose. You need to be relaxed and keep your arms open in an open steeple position. Keep your arms out to the side of the body. As I said earlier, keeping your arms to the side is a good position with a little distance between your legs, a little lean, and a good positive body language with a good eye contact. Keeping your arms at anywhere else, forward, backward, or even this way, can be a sign of anxiety or nervousness. Nod when you are talking. Every person who is saying something expects a kind of feedback from your side. It can be a verbal feedback, but since we are talking to body language, how do we convey if the other person is understanding or not? We can simply lean a little, or we can just simply say, no, I didn't understand. But we need to be very clear with what we are trying to communicate and what is the kind of feedback that we are giving. Moving your head awkwardly can be a confused gesture wherein you are neither in a position to say yes or in a position to say no. Empty your hands. Put down anything. As we saw earlier, people have habits of playing with things. For example, rings, keychains, paper balls, paperweights, or even small objects like putting your pen in the hand and drawing circles. These are signs of nervousness. Try to avoid, and when you keep your hands open, try to see that you are not having objects in your hand which can be confusing you or which can draw your attention to something else. Keep your hands free. This will, as I told earlier, this will be a positive gesture wherein you can keep your hands free so that you are being accepted and you are also trying to accept the others. When the index finger points vertically up the cheek and the thumb supports the chin, the listener is having a negative or critical thoughts. You can see people having hands on their cheeks. When you try to see a person in this position, all of us must have popularly seen the admired businessman, Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani, who used to have this kind of a gesture. Now this is having a gesture of having a lot of thoughts or having negative thoughts about the other person. This is another gesture which is generally found in females, wherein you have your hands to your legs, when you have your hands to your ears, and you are trying to think over deeply or trying to stroke your chin or putting your hand on the finger on your nose and trying to scratch. These are signs that you are trying to evaluate a decision or you are trying to come to a decision regarding what has been conveyed. Partial arms cross barrier. This is a sign of fear. This is seen in all kinds of genders from male to female, wherein a person standing casually puts his right arm across the left one or the left arm across the right one. It tells that you are truly afraid about something that is coming or something that you have overheard during the conversation. Glove handshake. This handshake, as I told earlier, is to have both your hands shaked on the other person's hand and doing it. This is a sign of cooperation, and this is a sign that you are trying to be trustworthy and affectionate towards the person who is trying to convey your action. But here we should see that we do not overdo things, because the receiver, if overdone, can feel suspicious and cautious about the intimator's decisions or the intimator's intentions for the future. The glove handshake is a type of public figures and politicians who want to make an impression of honesty. During his handshake, one person covers the other person's both hands. So, summing down to the do's and don'ts of body language. The do's include maintaining a straight body posture, maintaining an eye contact, being confident, sitting or standing with open eyes and relaxed shoulders, keep your hands to yourself, do not have objects in your hands, keep your hands loose instead of being stressed, have control on your actions, your emotions and your postures. To look at the other side, what are the don'ts? The don'ts include leaning forward too much or backward too much, not looking away or down or left or right when doing a conversation, crossing your arms or your legs, keeping your arms in pockets, playing with objects or fidgeting with something other than the conversation is a sign of don't do's or avoid these facts during study of a body language. Sorry. It is natural to pause. Everyone is a human, has a limitation to speak a fixed number of words as per capacity from their own. It is natural to take pauses in between. There is no need to hurry. Some people in their anxiety try to convey too many things at a time, and in the process they are confused. They are actually not able to convey what they were actually thinking over. So take pauses, go slowly, lift your feet while walking. While walking, we should try that our feet or our shoes don't make noise, but we raise an appropriate level of our leg from the ground before taking a step, which conveys a level of confidence in the way you walk and impacts a positive body language. Keeping ankles side by side shows confidence. Both our legs should be side to side each other. There should not be a very arm distance or a very short distance. On the other side, we should try not to fill the air with stoppers. Now, stoppers are a bad way of being confused or not having an idea. It includes stoppers like okay, and I said, I was trying to say. These are the ways which can actually convey how you're being pursued, or you don't have a clarity on the ideas you're trying to communicate. Don't drag your feet while walking. Some people have a dirty habit of walking with their feet and dragging it, making an irritating sound to the person who is listening. For example, like this. These are the signs that a person is trying to dominate himself. Don't keep your hand loose when you shake hands. Some people, when they shake the hand, have a habit of giving a very casual kind of handshake, or just conveying their fingers meet the other person's hands. The handshake should be a bit tight, not overdo it, but a bit tight, and it should convey a level of confidence when it goes up and down. Don't keep your ankles crossed. As I said, don't keep your hands or legs crossed. Okay, let's take a look at a general conversation. Hi Gitika, how are you? Hello Richa, I'm fine, thank you. Now conveying a greeting, I am fine, thank you, conveyed a positive body language or a positive posture on the side of Gitika. I'm not well. What happened, dear? Cold and cough. I've got a headache too. Yes, I'm taking medicines too. Good, take rest, get well soon. So this is a conversation between two friends who are casually discussing a situation or the reason for not being able to meet since long. Conversation between two classmates can be a bit more formal. We can have a look at this. Good morning. Again, we conveyed a good gesture by conveying a greeting. I am fit and I am fit as a fiddle. This is the conveyance of confidence in the dialogue of Jimit. Party little bit is left. I have some doubts. Oh, okay. Let me know if you need help. I have done the homework. Now this gesture, let me know if you need help, conveyed that the person is accepting or ready to accept the other person's views and even ready to help. Conversation between a teacher and a student can be a very formal conversation which cannot be a casual one or which generally has a purpose. For example, in this conversation, the teacher is trying to ask the student why she was absent, or referring to a friend who is absent during the conversation. The person is trying to convey that she is out of town and won't be coming back for a while. Conversation between a doctor and patient, it is in the same manner a very much fast forward conversation. Telephonic conversation, another conversation wherein the tone of a person or the voice accent conveys each and everything to a person who is listening on the other side of the phone. For example, Vijaya, hello, can I speak to Maya? Now this is an inquisitive tone which was showing that the other person is trying to inquire. My name is Vijaya, I am Maya's classmate. Okay, my name is Pooja and I am Maya's room partner. When will she back? In a while. Can I take a message? Here, this conveyed a sign of acceptance and this conveyed a message that the other person is willing to help. Thank you.